Hi, so we're here today to talk about The Bell, which is a novel by Iris Murdoch, the English writer. This is my second novel by Iris Murdoch after The Sea. If you remember, we read The Sea as part of our 12 books for 2022 reading project. That was my first ever Iris Murdoch book. The Sea won the Booker Prize. It's one of her best known novels, one of the easier novels to find out there, and I loved it. I had such a great reading experience. I hope you did too if you read it. If you didn't read The Sea but would like to now, it's never too late. You can always read it and watch my video review after, or you can watch my video review if you want to find out why it's such a great reading experience and then decide for yourself whether you want to read it or not, because as usual, as you probably know if you've been around for a while, I don't spoil novels in my reviews, even though I personally don't believe in spoiling novels. But anyway, I respect that that's an issue for some people, so I don't spoil novels. But today we're not here to talk about The Sea again. We're here to talk about The Bell. So I got this Vintage Classics edition. I think I would like to have the whole collection. I read The Sea as an ebook, but I might get it in this Vintage Classic collections. I must say though that when I saw it online, I mean, I quite like the artwork, and they're all kind of like this, so I think they would look good on a bookshelf, but I didn't realize that they would be so short. You know, if you compare them with other books by Vintage, you can see the difference here. So this means that, you know, the print is quite small. I don't know, but I'm going to link to this edition, but also to other editions I can find in the description box for this video. And that's important because my links are affiliate links. If you don't know what an affiliate link is, all it means is that if you buy this book or any other books from my link, so if you click on my link and then if you search for other books that you want to buy, or you just go straight and buy this book or any other books linked, you won't pay any extra. My links are to the book depository, so they offer free worldwide delivery, and I will receive a tiny commission. So it's one way in which you can support my channel if you like, but don't worry about that, because just being there and watching my videos, particularly if you watch them until the end, it's already doing more than enough to support my channel. But in case you want to do that little bit extra, check out my description in my videos, because there are different options in which you can support my channel. But buying books from my affiliate links, it's a great way to do that. That will not cost you any extra. But let's talk about The Bell now. So this novel was published in 1958, and it was Iris Murdoch's fourth novel. This novel is set in a lay religious community in Gloucestershire, that's in England. And yes, the novel was published in 1958, so it was written obviously in the 1950s. But this is not something that you feel, at least it's not something I felt as I read along. In fact, at some point, and I will talk about that a little bit later when that happened, but at some point I had to go and check when the novel was first published, because it felt like something a lot more recent than that, in a good way. So the characters in this novel are all the people who are staying at that lay religious community. But I would say that we have two main characters. One of them is a young woman named Dora Greenfield, and she's married to her former teacher, Paul Greenfield, who is, and pardon my French, an asshole. He's one of the biggest assholes I've ever encountered in a novel. And I've read Lolita. But anyway, he's an asshole in a very different way. In the way he treats his wife, he's so patronizing and abusive psychologically, but in very subtle, very insidious ways. He's hateful. So you immediately, or at least I immediately, empathize with Dora Greenfield. And I thought the novel would just be about her in that community, but then we moved on to the other main character, about whom I'll talk in a little bit. But so the novel begins with Dora, and we find out that she left her husband 6 months before the novel begins. But at the point in which the novel begins, her husband Paul has convinced her or persuaded her or manipulated her to return to him. Only that he's not in London, he's not anywhere he used to be, he's staying at that lay religious community, so she has to travel to Gloucester or Gloucestershire to join him. The other main character is a man named Michael Mead. He's a former schoolmaster, he's in his late 30s, and he kind of runs the community. Why is he a former schoolmaster? Well, we find out when we read this novel. And it has to do with the fact, anyway, without spoiling anything, with the fact that he is gay. Remember that we are in the 1950s here. This novel, The Bell, moved me and also made me laugh at turns. It's a kind of a novel that is such a ride, such a good ride. But let's talk a little bit about that lay religious community. The novel is not really about religion, which I thought it might be, but it's not really. So that place is a kind of refuge for everyone who lives there, so for all the characters in this novel. Eventually, the different characters are confronted with whatever they are running away from in this novel. The Bell deals with very important philosophical themes. Remember that Iris Murdoch was also a philosopher, and she wrote and published different essays and non-fiction books on philosophy that I would love to read, because I think her philosophy seeps into her fiction. I noticed that reading The Sea, and I've noticed it again reading The Bell. So I think knowing about her philosophy, reading her philosophical work will help when I eventually reread The Bell and The Sea, because yes, these are novels that I will want to read again and again for the rest of my life, probably. But why? Why would I want to read The Bell so much? Well, yes, she's a philosopher, her philosophy is in here, but don't be put off by that, because you might be put off by that, and I would understand that. I could have been put off by that. But don't be, because the tone in which this novel is written is so engaging, and the plot of the novel, what happens to the different characters, is so compelling that you will have a great time. I had a great time. So why are all the characters there in this community? Well, they all seem to need a break from their lives to figure out their lives, to figure out where they're at, what they want to do. You know, they all come from different backgrounds and different things in their lives, and they need to work things out, particularly Dora and Michael. Dora and Michael, as I said, are the main characters, and throughout this novel they try their best, but they make so many mistakes. They're so imperfect, they're so rich, they come off as real people. And you know, reading this novel, I thought about other novels that I've read, and not one in particular, just in general. And I thought that it must be easier for a writer to come up with perfect or idealized characters rather than with characters that sound and behave like real people do, like people do in real life. And that's how all the characters, not just Dora and Michael, but all the characters in this novel, in that religious community, behave. So I've already talked about Dora, so I'd like to spend some time now talking about Michael. So Michael, as I said, is a gay character, and he's so well drawn and so believable as a gay man in his 30s that when I got to that part of the novel when he's really introduced and we get to find out about his background and his story and why he has ended up in this community, that I doubted whether this novel was really published in the 50s. I thought, no, this novel was from the 70s, right? Like The Sea. So I had to look, and I was really shocked to realize that it was actually published in the 1950s. What else can I say about The Bell? It is a fun reading experience. I had a lot of fun reading this. It was a breeze. I breezed through it. I laughed. I cried. Well, I didn't quite cry, but I was moved. But it is also a hopeful novel. Some pretty bad stuff happens here that is not pleasant, but the novel is hopeful. Read it. You will feel better about life when you finish it. After The Sea, and The Bell, I know that I want to read more by Iris Murdoch in the next few months, and I think I might read The Black Prince next. I don't own a copy yet, but I'll buy one at some point soon. I go into every novel by Iris Murdoch knowing just the premise. And I don't want to spoil any of her novels. I don't want to spoil that reading experience for you, which is why I haven't discussed the plot of the novel really, and I won't discuss the plot of this novel, just the mere premise. I think people need to know the premise to know whether that's something they might enjoy or not. So I hope I have enticed you to pick this up, because really my goal with this video and my video about the sea is to entice people to read Iris Murdoch. I would love for more people to read Iris Murdoch and discover one of the most original voices in literature I have ever come across. So there is a lot to choose from, and I'm just barely discovering her best known and more acclaimed work, because you have to start somewhere. You know, The Sea and The Bell are fascinating novels, both of them. I couldn't tell you which one I prefer. Both are equally good to me. I'll have to perhaps allow more time so I can see which one I remember more vividly, but both of them are fascinating. However, because she wrote 26 novels, or at least she published 26 novels, I expect that quality varies a lot, simply because of the sheer amount of books, right? But I am excited to discover more of her work and then find out what my favorite novels by her are, and then rereading those. And as I said earlier, I already know I will reread The Bell and The Sea. But how about you? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you again very soon for another book review and more bookish content. Bye!